we are now sitting with not zebra and wildebeest. We have got topi and we have 2 impala as well, which is quite funny to see. And they're just lurking just behind those shrubs. It was just one that was running around in VM, and I thought to ourselves, that is bizarre. What on earth is one impala doing all on its own? Can't see it though. Hiding away, of course. Oh, there's one. There's the other one. I think they might be trying to relocate on their herd. They seem to be quite lost, but they're sticking with the topi at the moment, which is a very good idea, of course. Now, I always ask myself the question, what is the difference between topi and Sabi? And I think they look fairly the same. However, in my opinion, the only way you can tell the difference is if you put one and one together and make them race. And then, of course, the Sabi should win, theoretically. But that's not the only animal that's around here. There's giraffe. There's more zebra. There are... Oh, I can't go into first. I keep going into reverse. There's a baby giraffe. That's actually very pretty. Now, this is the first time that I'm showing all of you the Maasai giraffe, which is quite exciting. Let's see if you can spot it. There it walks. Towering above all the animals, a beautiful female. Now, I haven't seen one up too close, but from what the books tell me, they say that the Maasai giraffe are the largest species of giraffe. Oh, look, here comes a little one. But I'd love to see them up close and sort of be able to see if I can notice much of a difference between the two. But that's a tiny little tot over there, even a couple of elephants at the background. What an absolute amazing sighting. I could sit here for hours and hours. Now that little one, oh my goodness, that can only be a few months old, maybe 2 months old. It's very small. It doesn't even look like its ossicones have solidified just yet. And no one else is even lifting up its head, and not bothered at all by, of course, the giraffe. Look at that. Oh, sweet. Maybe it's even younger. Maybe this giraffe is only about a month old, maybe only a few weeks old. Look how fluffy those ossicones are. I can still see an umbilical cord. That is so small. Isn't that absolutely precious? Careful, you better keep up with Mum. There could be lions around here. Now, James, you've said, how would I describe the smell of the Mara? At the moment, like apple juice, because VM has just poured himself a glass of apple juice. Well, it's quite interesting. Look at that view. That's incredible. So when I was driving into the Mara, I wasn't driving. I was being driven by Benny. He was fantastic. And it smelled a bit like a farmyard, and the reason why is because I've never seen so many goats, sheep, and cows in my entire life. It was absolutely incredible. The first thing I honestly saw was I must have been a herd of a couple of hundred goats, and I was laughing to myself. I actually said to myself, they said there would be wildebeest. I've seen more goats than I have seen wildebeest. Obviously, we weren't quite in the areas. We saw a couple of wildebeest scattered around, but we weren't quite in the conservancies in the national park. We weren't in those areas. So that smelled very much like manure, as you can imagine. And then as we started to move away from the villages and coming into this area, it's a very fresh smell. There's no particular plant. Obviously, in Sabi Sand at the moment, the air is filled with knobthorn, that beautiful sweet scent of those flowers. I can't smell anything in particular. Doesn't smell like freshly mowed lawn. You would think, because the wildebeest are mowing it constantly, but unfortunately it doesn't smell like that. So, James, it's actually a very hard question to ask. Liam, what do you think the Mara smells like?
The sea, but without the salt and the...
So VM says, I have to tell you, VM says he thinks the Mara smells like the sea without the water and the salt. I'll just let you think about that one, and I'm going to send you back across to the Sabi Sand, where the air is filled with knobthorn flowers and also the site of Tingana.
VM makes me laugh. So the Mara smells like the sea without the water or the ocean or the salt. So it smells like sand. VM, is that what you're saying? That's a very interesting description. Made me laugh. The Mara, Djuma at the moment doesn't smell like much because it's very windy, so all the smells are getting drifted away. But there is still that sweet scent in the air from a lot of the knobthorn trees, the flowers at the moment. So we definitely still smell that. Now, I was chatting earlier about my friend starting to guide and it becoming more of a career. And Nisha, you were asking, what is the difference between was it a ranger and a field guide? Well, yeah, a safari guide and a game ranger. Well, technically, in the past, the terms have meant the same. The terms have meant the same thing. But technically, the correct terminology for what, say, for example, what I do. So I take people out on safari. We go to different locations. We look for wildlife. We look for animals, and I interpret the bush to the guests. That is a field guide. I take people out. I interact with the animals and the guests, show them the wildlife, and interpret the bush and give them information about everything we see, from the plants to the trees, grasses, to the birds, the animals, the ecosystem, all of that, the stars, everything. We cover everything. The term for a game ranger, technically, is somebody that moves around and only interacts with the animals. They are there possibly managing areas, managing wildlife, so they generally don't have anything to do with the guests. So it's a different, that's where the terminology is different. But, sorry, someone's shouting at me. Yeah, but like I said, both terms have been used for each profession. It doesn't really matter. Some people, if I say to them I'm a field guide, they don't know what I'm talking about. I say game ranger, then they're like, oh, okay, you work with animals. so it's just sometimes easier just to say we're a game ranger, or a ranger, or a guide. Maybe you can use the word guide, but those are the difference, or that's the difference between the two terms. So yes, I'm a field guide. This leopard's moved a little bit. It's almost like he's creeping forward. But I haven't seen anything else moving. He's been fixated on something he saw on the opposite side of the drainage, on the other side of the drainage line. No. Charles, you asked, is there anything? You asked, is there anything anything known as a white leopard? Now, I've never come across a white leopard. There's snow leopards, however. There are snow leopards. No, I think so there's snow leopards, but not a white leopard. Never heard of a white leopard. I think you know what, we've had quite a nice view of this leopard. I know there are some other people that are wanting to come in. So I think what we'll do is we'll maybe make space for a while, let some other people come and view, and if they leave him, if he's still around in this area, we can always come back later and maybe get another view of him. Maybe with the infrared camera we can try, possibly. Why don't we drive around and see what else we can find? Maybe we can find some more elephant or anything like that. So let's try that. While I do that, let's go back across to Tayla, who is still with some lions.
Oh my goodness. You cuffed me in the act having a nibble on a snack. No. Apparently we're getting fines. Now, see, same flask as Byron. But now I need to have a sip of water. I do apologize. I'll just show you I'm not having a coffee break. And I promise it is water in here. Now, I got very excited just a moment ago, because we thought we'd found some lions, but it's not lions. But it's okay, because it's my second favorite animal. It is true hyenas. I suspect that there might be a den here, because there's quite a few holes going into the ground. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was a den site, but I haven't seen or heard any little cubs just yet. But they're just enjoying the afternoon sun. And I'm really impressed with the amount of hyenas that I've seen so far. They are everywhere. They're just as common as the wildebeest and zebra. Last night we were chasing around quite a big clan, like I said this morning. I think it might have been the same clan that Scott had. It sounded like it was in a similar area. And I counted about 15 or so of them running about chasing the wildebeest and zebra around, obviously looking for a youngster or perhaps one that was maybe slightly injured, but they didn't end up catching anything in the end. But that's one of my sightings that I'm most certainly looking forward to, is watching hyenas chase down some prey and catching them. The clans get massive here, and obviously it's not unusual because there's so much space you can sustain really large clans, and there's also an absolute abundance of food at the moment. But how great is that? Two lovely hyenas. No one doesn't look too happy with us, giving us the death stare. You see that? Death stare, and then also almost falling asleep. Looks like my mom when she falls asleep on the couch in front of the TV and she does the neck roll. Classic mom. And there they are. What we were actually going to do is we were going to try and find some wildebeest and zebra and watch them, and then we were going to have VM crunching on some crisps, and then I was going to say, listen to how loud these wildebeest are, but it doesn't matter. You heard me trying to desperately crunch as quick as I've ever eaten in my entire life, because yes, I knew that you were coming to me. But we'll leave these hyenas because we're going to carry on with our plan now. I don't think I told you our plan. We're going to move away from the area of the sausage tree pride where they like to hang around. Sadly, no luck. So we're going to head back to the road now. We're going to go towards the river. So those are all that thicket, that tree line that you can just see in the distance. Scott had oh, sure, that was a big pig. You could be a big pig too. Hey, there's a warthog. It just darted out and it's gone now. It's run away. As we're going to head to the river line, scan there for some lions. And if we don't get lucky, we're going to end up at hopefully the Agama Pride before sunset. Anyways, Steph is manning the river cams. I wonder what action is happening on the edge of the water.
Part of the afternoon have been those male lions that James found, which I don't know what he said. I've been deaf to what his commentary has been, but to me they look like maneless male lions. But talking about a mane, although not on the front of the body, have a look at this absolutely spectacular bird. This is a sacred ibis, and one of the most showy of all the ibises. In Djuma, we very commonly get the hardy-dar ibis, which has the most unbelievable call, which sounds like they're saying hardy-dar. I'm not going to sing it for you. I am atrocious at making any sound effects. Which is a grey bird with a purple iridescence on its feathers. The sacred ibis now has a black head and a white body with a big fluffy tail, as you can see there. And just, isn't this the most unbelievable thing? They occur in fairly large numbers. This is the first time that I've seen a sacred ibis actually looking for invertebrates and insects in the mud on the side of a river. I've never seen one doing it before, but they're very common birds in and around rubbish dumps. Now obviously the Mara Triangle is not a rubbish dump, but this particular bird is fairly common up here, but nonetheless striking, one of the most striking birds that we see. That huge beak is meant to probe in mud and sand and lawns, and has a very sensitive tip, and they will be feeling for insects, which they will then pop into their mouth. But don't you find that the tiny little head in comparison to that enormous beak is just one of the most bizarre things that you can see? And then of course that feather-dusted tail, reminiscent of birds of paradise, is just spectacular. I think so, at least anyway. Let's go and see what else is around Cul-de-Sac Crossing. Oh, look how deep that bird's going. Definitely not shy of a crocodile or two, which will, given the choice, hunt for birds. Small crocodiles, of course, go through... there we got a blacksmith lapwing. Another quite striking bird with its black and white colorations. Aren't these river cameras just absolutely fantastic? Francis, who's commenting from Israel, wanted to know if any crocs have laid eggs this year yet. Francis, I don't actually know the answer to that question. I haven't seen female crocodiles high up on the banks at all, which is usually a bit of a telltale sign. We've got some action around this carcass. Which is usually a bit of a telltale sign that there are eggs around. You get these females that sort of incubate the eggs, or at least keep close to the eggs. Difficult to say now. I'm not actually sure which time of the year crocodiles lay eggs. I'm trying to think back to crocodile nests that I've had the pleasure of being close to, and it's almost always when the waters are quite low. So I would say that now's a good time for the crocodiles to lay eggs. Have I seen any female crocodiles up on these banks? No, I haven't. Not yet, at least, anyway. But just have a look what's happening around this wildebeest carcass. So what's happened is the crocodile's body temperature, as the group of crocodiles that were sunning themselves on the sandbank, got warm enough to come into the water. And they obviously feel that the wildebeest carcass has reached a state of putrefaction which is almost close enough for them to start to feed on. And now starts a big dance around this carcass. It's been one of the most interesting observation points that I've had in my guiding career, is to do two things around this river. One is to figure out the hierarchy in these crocodiles and what and how they actually settle themselves out into who gets the pickings. And the second is the fact that I think that hippo and crocodile have a much deeper relationship than what we think they do. And I haven't quite reached any conclusions just yet. But what I can say is that the biggest crocodiles are the best suited to utilizing corpses and carcasses of large mammals in the water. And quite often you see them not only catch and kill, but also dismember the carcasses in the water. Now, Hazel, you wanted to know if it's true, if the Egyptian plover, which I'm sure is more the case than the blacksmith plover, which I mistakenly identified it as, picks the teeth of the crocodile clean. Yes, I've seen pictures of it. I have not seen it with my own eyes. I will probably be able to show you at some point these birds picking bits and pieces of flesh from off of the crocodile's teeth. Do birds and other animals pick each other clean? Well, obviously we know that it's a very common thing underwater, where animals will quite often go to cleaning stations where fish who are specialized at cleaning debris and old scales and mites off of fish will clean fish at a cleaning station. Equally so, you have a similar thing happening around waterholes where you get terrapins, which will quite often come and pick ticks off of the hocks of buffalo. And I'm sure that it's not that uncommon to think that a bird will do the same thing for the teeth of a crocodile. Some of these crocodiles are so massive that they actually have lost the ability to catch and kill anything except these giant mammals that live on this side. Now, what we're going to do, it looks like this crocodile has decided that the carcass of this wildebeest is not ready just yet for dismembering, and they're going to leave it to age for one day longer. In the meantime, we're going to send you all the way back down to South Africa, where Byron has managed to find you an egg.
I have indeed. Now, I wonder if it's not because of this wind, everyone, that we've had. It's very windy this afternoon. Hold on a second. I'm just going to jump out here and just look around. I don't see a nest or anything above us, but a very brittle little egg. Actually, this doesn't look fresh at all, so this might have been from a while ago. I don't think today. But have a look here. Here's a portion of an egg. Hold on a second, let me just plug in. It's a bit windy, so can you see that? Excuse me, my hands are dirty from brushing branches away and holding branches while driving off-road. Hold on, let me... Oh. It's a little bird egg. I don't know what bird. Sorry, the wind is... You can see how windy it is, yeah? Oh, sorry. Okay, that's not going to work. Put that over here rather. Leave it. I need to unplug again. Jump in. Seeing that broken shell reminds me of when James is around. It's like walking on eggshells. Got to be very careful. Now, Dalrez, you said back to birding. It is indeed back to birding. Let's see. Come on, I need 3 more. 80 species by the end of the day. But this wind, I don't think is going to help us. I don't think at all. Always unpleasant when it's this windy in the bush. Animals tend to stay within the thickets. It's amazing how the weather just changed. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's actually like a haze that's come over Djuma at the moment. While we drive, you might be able to see it. I don't know. There's a bit of a haze there, and that's just dust. I think that's been brought up from this wind. Right. Carsten from Denmark, I apologize. I was busy answering your question earlier about which bird I would really like to see now. Senzo, did you lose your cap? Sorry, we keep getting interrupted, Carsten. I will answer your question shortly. Let me just park the vehicle on Senzo's cap here quickly. Senzo, you owe me big time. Hold on. Oh. Here we go. And I lost the blanket. Oh dear, it's all going pear-shaped here. Okay, Carsten, a bird I'd really like to see now this time of year. What bird would I really like to see? I'd like to see a martial eagle, maybe a martial eagle flying around. That would be great. Also, you know what, the birds we still need to see, the ground hornbills. I've heard them calling. They're around here. I've heard them calling every morning, just haven't seen them. The ground hornbills, the martial eagle, chin spot batters. What else? There's the black crakes that we sometimes see down at Chitwa Dam. What else am I forgetting? Some the Apellis or Palus, however you say it, Apellis. There are a few of those we can see. What else haven't we seen yet that I can think of? White-faced Scops owl, barn owl. I haven't heard of barn owl for quite some time here, but I've heard those white-faced Scops owls. What else? What else? That's 7 already, just that I can think of off the top of my head. The orange-breasted bushshrike. I'm just trying to listen out. I think that male leopard Tingana has started moving again. Let me just listen quickly. Hold on. It sounded like he just came straight down south along the drainage line. We might actually bump into him again up ahead. Johan for Byron. Okay, copy. I'm almost at the Mawati on the cut line. I'll be there shortly. Okay, so it sounds like we might get another view of Tingana, maybe a better one. Just moving. He's moving south. Let's go. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, apparently we've got a few gremlins around. Let's quickly go to James. I'm going to see if we can get a view of this leopard, and let's see if James has mended his shirt.
Now everyone, we are driving, but we're driving the purpose because we found some lions here. That's not strictly true, actually. We happened upon them on account of the fact that someone was parked here. And if I'm not mistaken, I've been told by somebody that one of them has the name Yaya. And I think Yaya, if I'm not mistaken, is a member of the Marsh Pride. So we've got 3 lionesses here. We think there might be some cubs in and amongst this group as well. And so we're going to choose this group as our hunting group tonight. And that's because they look, well, they certainly don't look hungry, but they look relatively like they might get up and hunt. We're not too far from the 4 males we had earlier. And we're also not too far from the 5 males we had earlier. So that's going to be our plan. If anyone can tell me if Yaya is a member of the Marsh Pride or not, I'd be most impressed. I've never seen any lion called Yaya before, but this is what the somewhat humorless guest who drove past us here with Check Me, Check You sunglasses on said that she was called. You know what Check Me, Check You sunglasses are, David? Well, think about it. Check me, check you. They look like mirrors. You can see your face in them, you see.
They are reflective ones.
There we are. Anyway, that's going to be our plan. We'll stay here for the foreseeable future. Before we go anywhere, or you go anywhere though, let's just go around the corner, because we'll get a better view of the 2 on their little island. They're on really quite a fun island here. It's where I'd choose to live if I was Yaya. Just try not to end up in the ditch here. Alright. Anyway, they're over there. They're not going anywhere. Tingana is on the move, however, so let's go across to him.
Yeah, he is indeed, everyone, but there we go. Last really great view of him. And I say last because I think he's possibly going to cross the boundary and head south. And there he goes. But what a beautiful, beautiful leopard. And fortunately, we've had a great view of him. His scent marking, let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. Scent marking. This is probably the dominant male leopard in this area. There are some other leopards around, but he's definitely, I think, the largest, and still in his prime. So, let's see where he goes. Like I said, I think he's going to cross our boundary. You see, and I think with it being so cool at the moment, this wind blowing, He's probably looking for some food, and in these conditions, it's a lot easier for a leopard to hunt. He can stalk, he can get a bit closer. There's very little chance of impala or any antelope picking up on his scent. And also, the sound, he probably won't make as much noise. It's just disappearing behind those bushes. Hold on a second. Yeah, there's some impala that are alarm calling. It's actually... I want to see something. Let's have a look. Remember I spoke about his tail and how he lifts it up. Let's just have a look if he does do that with his impala. We spoke. Look there, he is doing it. There we go. He's doing exactly that. See, he's scent marking there now. But did you notice he lifted his tail while he was walking? And as I explained, that's to make himself a bit more visible. Showing that he's no threat to the impala. He wants to get past them, get through this area, hopefully without drawing too much attention to him, although they have seen him already. And there he goes, just south of our boundary. Well, what a wonderful view of him. Oh, that was great, wasn't it? The last view of Tingana, a beautiful male leopard. Oof. That's some serious wind bring there. But talking about his tail being raised in the air. See how the impala alarm calling. They kept an eye on him. He moved away. The impala have stopped alarm calling now. As long as they can keep a view of him, they won't be too phased. Sorry, Max, I'm not sure I understand the question properly. Antisocial, you asked, are the leopards dated? Was that the question? Oh, endangered. Sorry, that's why I didn't understand. I didn't hear properly. I apologize. Antisocial, no. Leopards are not endangered. They're not considered endangered. The leopard population is still very, very healthy. Obviously, we have to still conserve them and conserve the areas they occur in, but they're not considered to be endangered. No. And leopards occur in so many different areas, very widespread. They adapt very well to their surroundings very quickly, so they can occur in many different areas. Well, that was a great afternoon with that male leopard. I'm so glad we found him so quickly right at the beginning of the show. It was exciting. Martin, you were asking how long can a leopard go without food or water? Well, they would probably have to drink at least once a day, I would say. Water is quite important for animals in general. Water is important. But Martin, with food, they can probably go 2-3 days at least without food. It can probably be longer, a week and a half without food. But then you'll start seeing them looking really, really hungry. I think they try to hunt probably on average twice a week to get a substantial meal. This male's been moving around a lot, so he's used up a lot of energy. So I'm sure he will try and hunt at some point tonight. Shall we have a look and see if we can see a genet? We keep checking and we haven't seen anything for a while. See, little genet hasn't been around. I think it's just hiding in the stump, and I'm sure it's still around there. Let's have a look. I'm gonna sneak up, try to switch off again. No. No sign of the genet anyway. Oh, that's a pity. Not sure. But the other night, I told you, I think it was 2 nights ago. Or 3 nights ago. I drove past and I caught a glimpse of the head sticking out. Then it went back in and hid again. What else we can find this afternoon? I should have brought a cup of coffee or hot chocolate. It's quite chilly now. Still got about an hour left, so possibly still time to find some more. Oh no, the birds. Where are the chin spot batters? Been trying hard to spot them on camera, but it's not always easy. Anyway, let's go across to Steph, who's on those river cams, and let's see what activity is going on around there.
Just have a look at that change of scenery, everybody. Last time you were with us, there was a massive rainbow that was shining through the clouds or through the rain, and now we've got one lonesome little cloud with the sun shining on it. Let's see if I can get some of the orange color that I'm actually seeing. So that is more like my view. No, not quite. Battling to get the orange color that I'm busy seeing reflected on that cloud, but nonetheless, how beautiful is that? Let's go down to these plains. Now, obviously in front of us is where the Agama Pride of Lions are located, and that is what Tayla is aiming at going to go and have a look at a little bit later. But just have a look at what is dotted on these plains. Those are all wildebeest. Isn't that just incredible? Just thousands upon thousands upon thousands, and it doesn't matter where you look, there are just more and more and more of them. Some cars that are leaving the reserve on one of the main access roads into the reserve. Just have a look over there. Isn't that just beautiful? The beast actually yesterday than they were today, to be honest. Now, Dave, you wanted to know what kind of trees we have here. Out on the plains, which is sort of the iconic tree that we find here, we've got three types of trees actually. They're fig trees, none of which are present in this particular picture. The trees that are in the middle of your screen there are Balanites trees. They are a type of torchwood. Then we have trees in the top right of your screen. Those are the Warburgia or pepperbark trees. And then we have shepherd's trees or boskia trees, which are, let me see if I can find you a decent boskia. Here's a decent boskia. That is a decent shepherd's tree, named because it never loses its leaves. It throws massive shade, and of course shepherds love to lie under them during the heat of the day. So three types of trees that we find out on the plain: pepperbark tree, the Balanites, and the boskias, which is what we find. And then lots and lots and lots of trees out on the escarpment, and I'm still busy actually learning the trees that are out here, to be quite honest with you. I don't know all the trees that are on top of this escarpment, although there are some fantastic ones, to be honest with you. All right, I'm going to ask Geraldine to take us back to Cul-de-sac Crossing, because I think we've got some action around that carcass. Let's go and have a look. Have a look over there. No, still not. Although, what have we got going on over here? This carcass is generating a lot of attention. We've got some crocodile that are still there. Carcass still hasn't been opened up, although you've got this big crocodile coming in now. Let's see what he does. Now, these big crocodile are supremely adapted to dismembering a carcass. Their jaws cannot they cannot move their jaws from side to side. So what they usually do is they grab the carcass in their mouth. Look at this. Wow, what's going on there? Dinosaur chasing a competitor for food off of this carcass. Now that is a full-grown wildebeest, everybody, and have a look at the massive crocodile that is there. And you could see how fast they were actually in the water. I mean, it's been a long time since I've watched a crocodile move with such massive speed. I hope that my shoddy camera work didn't ruin it for everybody. But there you can see that the youngster, either a young male or a female, has moved far away from the carcass now, and this big boy is dominating this carcass. I think this is the big guy in this particular pond. I think they're going to be, just like a baboon troop, there'll be a few massive males all round about the same size as each other, but this one guy is just massive. He's the dark green guy. Now, Debbie, all the way from Vancouver. Wow, I don't think I've had... we've had viewers from Vancouver very often there, Debbie, at least not me in any case. You wanted to know if crocodiles store their carcasses, or could they store carcasses to use later on in the year? Debbie, tough question. Crocodiles, given the choice, will eat rotting meat over fresh meat when they are full. When they are empty, anything goes, but when they are full, they'll choose to eat rotting meat over fresh meat. This does mean that they do allow this will allow their carcasses to basically lie around, and it looks like they are being stored for later use. Will that store it for later on in the year? No, I don't think so, Debbie, to be quite honest with you. I personally feel that that it's probably just chance that something happens to keep a carcass for longer than a couple of days. And once it's soft enough to dismember. Now, if you wouldn't mind, Jerry, just repeating the question there. I'm out of... Chitty Chatty Meg, please excuse me. Your name threw me off there a little bit, and then your question was a bit long for me to try and listen and talk at the same time. I'm out of practice. Basically, you wanted to know if it's easier to eat when the carcasses are rotting. Yes, it is. And the reason for that is that crocodiles can't chew. They also can't move their... They can't move their jaws from side to side, so they battle to cut through meat. They have to tear off chunks, and it's much easier to tear off a chunk of meat when it's rotten than it is to tear off when it's fresh. Not to say that these crocodiles do not do that, because believe me, I've seen them rip apart a fresh wildebeest like it was cheese. But it is definitely easier to do when it is rotting, and crocodiles absolutely will favor rotting meat when they are full over fresh meat, mainly because of the ease at which it comes apart. Let's have a look at these crocodiles coming down. Now, generally, I've watched crocodiles go upstream to react to a smell that is coming down the stream towards them, not coming from the other direction. And that means that that crocodile that's just surfed in there, not the hippo, of course, that crocodile that just came planing in over there is reacting to a stimulus from another place, either sight or sound. Now, it could be that that rushing male had an impact on this crocodile and has now drawn the attention of this crocodile. And it's quite funny. When I've watched these crocodiles feeding on a carcass, one will start, they'll all sort of nudge up to a carcass, and the biggest one will start. It's almost like he gets the first taste of the carcass, and once the feeding starts, it turns into a frenzy, much the same as sharks. Now just have a look at this yellow-billed stork, completely unfazed at this dinosaur that's around it. That is mad. Why not? Is it the fact that this camera is giving us a shallow depth of field, and so we're not able to see that that bird is much further away from that crocodile than it actually is? That's amazing. The crocodile just do a big sigh, blinking there. Now, this carcass will be attracting a lot of fish, and that is what... And the mud that the Russian crocodile kicked up would have now attracted a lot of fish. And what you probably find is the fact that that bird's been drawn to the fact that there's a feeding opportunity. Little fish drawn in by the commotion, and is now busy hunting the mud there. Have a look at that. Another crocodile just came surfing in from downstream. I don't think that this wildebeest is going to be here in the morning, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be gone. Now, what would be interesting to see is if the crocodiles feed at night. They tend to lose their appetite at below 20 degrees centigrade. And it's because they're cold-blooded, their metabolism slows down to a point where they're actually not hungry and they actually can't move that fast below 20 degrees centigrade. Right now, it's a comfortable, I'd say it's probably around about 22 or 23 degrees centigrade. I don't know what the water temperature is, although with it being so high, I can't imagine that it's warm. It hasn't been lying, in shallow, slow-moving bends in the river for a long time. It's been rushing down here, and I can't imagine that it's warm, but maybe the answer as to why these crocodiles are just guarding this wildebeest rather than actually feeding on it. Isn't that just an amazing picture? Now, Beard, you've asked a question that I wouldn't have been able to answer without having seen it myself. You want to know if crocodiles will kill without actually eating it? Yes. We watched at this very crossing a few weeks ago a mass drowning. And we were watching these crocodiles that live in this part of the river running, basically, and swimming over dead carcasses, many dead carcasses, I'm talking about dozens, to go and kill another wildebeest and then leave it there. They didn't eat it. They killed and killed and killed, even though the wildebeest were killing themselves by drowning against an embankment and were washing up in droves on the side of this river. And yet they carried on killing. And so I would say absolutely, just like lions, they're opportunists. They will kill because they are attracted to either the distress or the motion or the commotion. They will come in, dispatch prey, even though there is a superabundance of food. Most of it washed downstream to feed crocodiles downstream, and vultures mainly. But there were a couple of carcasses that stuck around, and for the next couple of days we watched crocodiles feasting on wildebeest. Dozens of carcasses. So, albeit absolutely, I think that they will kill without needing to, and very similar to lions in that regard. All right, we're going to be sending you over to Byron, who should be an hour behind us. In other words, he'll have a lot more light and is at Treehouse Dam.
I am indeed at Treehouse Dam, Steph. See, Steph knows the area very well, so he can obviously see what we've got. I think can Steph see our feed? I'm sure he can. I apologize. It's not Steph, it's clever Megan. Sorry, Megan. Sorry. She's very strict. It was her birthday the other day. She's definitely become a lot more strict since she's turned 23. Where can we find some birds this time? I don't think we're going to get another bird this time of the day. And this wind has made it difficult. Tanner's from Canada. You asked what is the best time for birding in South Africa. I think it'd have to be December, January. Just in terms of the sheer numbers of birds. There's the summer months. So the summer months are great for birding because we get so many migratory species coming back for the summer. They nest here, so a lot more species. All the species that we meant to have around will be here. Also, there's a lot of water, so that means a lot of food for the animals and the birds. So I would say December, January is probably the best time for birding. You're going to see a lot of colourful birds. Just listening to the radio again. So yeah, everyone don't forget. I mean, with that off-roading and that, we are still very sensitive. I know some people think, well, do we kill other creatures while we're driving around? And you know what, we try and drive in the open little spaces and the gaps. We try not drive over branches or stumps that we know there might be vegetation protecting animals under there or insects. We do try to be careful. It doesn't always look like it, but I promise you now we do. So it's I mean, it's not ideal to drive off-road that much, but we don't do it a lot. That's the thing, we don't. I know I certainly don't drive off-road that much. From time to time, and also only if we're following certain animals. You know, if there was a herd of elephant in there or whatever, I would never have driven in there because there's no point. But something like a male leopard, we haven't seen him for a while. We're trying to get a view of him. A lot of other vehicles we're trying to view. So, but we are careful, we are cautious and respectful of nature. Sorry, it's now getting a bit chilly. Let's see if I can do this while driving. Look at that. I wonder what's for dinner. I'm a bit peckish at the moment. I hope Amanda's... Oh no, Megan, you're joking. Oh, Megan just told me that the vervet monkeys got into our kitchen. If they ate my dinner, Megan says no dinner for us. I'm not impressed. Not impressed. Those vervet monkeys. Oh. Man. Pardon? Senzo was saying we might just hunt the monkeys. I don't think we'll go that far, don't worry. Senzo, you can't say that on Safari Live. Senzo was joking, everyone, he was joking. There's some Impala. No, I do get hangry, but I won't get that hangry, don't worry. Now, you see, what's interesting is have a look at the behavior now. These Impala are all out on this little fire break, this open section, and look how they're huddled together. Sorry, my cap was in the way there. Just look off, also this little group to the left. See how they're huddled together? That's all because of these windy conditions. They can't hear very well, they can't smell. It makes it difficult for all these animals. There's a good chance the predators will be out trying to hunt tonight. But it's interesting to see the behavior of the herbivores, the potential prey, staying close together, trying to keep a lookout for danger. I'm sure you can probably hear the wind on my cap. I don't know, Megan, can you hear the wind on the cap? Well, I think let's move past this Impala. Let's be gone with the wind. Nothing like a cheesy joke on a Wednesday afternoon, hey? I try my best. Please don't judge me, everyone. I suppose you know what the problem is because it's just me out here. I'm getting a bit loopy. Sinak, you asked if we see vervet monkeys often. We do see them from time to time. Actually, excuse me, in and around camp, we do see vervet monkeys quite often. Almost every day, we see one or two jumping around, but they're so clever. As soon as we disappear, they're in there and then they're trying to get food. Cheeky little things, the vervet monkeys. Well, maybe it's some biscuits or something for dinner then. I need to eat something, otherwise I'll be very grumpy. Now Megan says apparently they only ate our couscous. Now, couscous, of course, it's so good they named it twice. So, maybe that's how the monkeys ate. Oh dear, another cheesy joke for the Senzo's making me laugh even more. He's bent over laughing behind me. It's almost dark enough for the spotlight. You know what, maybe we find a honey badger or two running around. That will make my day. That'll make my month, actually. I hope all of you are having a great week, all our viewers. And you've been stuck with me all week because Tristan's on leave, Ali's on leave, or working actually. Ali was working. She was doing some trips with guests. Taylor's gone up to the Mara. James tore his shirt. So there's no one else on Djuma. It's just myself. Which has been fun though. It's been fun. And Djuma's still standing. I know a lot of you were worried. A lot of you were concerned if Djuma would still stand with just me being around. Senzo's nodding his head. See what happens when when it's windy and there's not much to see or find. Start speaking nonsense. Jessa, you said some elephants now would be really nice. Oh, it would be great. Would be great. Although we're losing a bit of light, but elephants in the infrared, I'd love that. That would be awesome. You can sit quietly in the dark with them moving past us. I don't think we're going to be spotting any owls tonight either. I think with the wind they're not really perched out on those open branches. You never know though, maybe. We haven't spotted an owl today, have we, Senzo? No, we haven't. Oh dear. Not yet. But yeah, I don't think these windy conditions are ideal for birding now. So maybe we spot something in the grass. Genet or a civet or... There are little birds calling here. Oh, there. What is that, Senzo? What is that little guy? Oh dear, that's a flycatcher. I think that's a flycatcher. Okay, let me see if I can. I'm not going to shine the light on it too much. But I wonder why they're calling. There's another one over there. I'm almost certain. I'm sure that's a flycatcher. Hold on, everyone. Let's try have a look and see if we can identify that quickly. Sorry, Senzo, I need both my hands, so I can't shine the spotlight on it. No, I don't know where they've gone now. I don't want to shine the light on the birds anyway. I think I've got that one. I think that was the. I wonder if that wasn't the great tit flycatcher. I think that's what they were. Let's just listen. Just try and listen if they make that call. that sounded like a bit of an alarm call that they were making now. Just trying to listen. Often with these apps, different calls they play towards the end. Oh, the light is a bit tricky, everyone. It doesn't sound like they're playing any other call for us to hear now. Huh? Infrared. Oh, there we go. Let's try that sensor. Let's have a look. I'm going to try and look carefully, everyone. These little flycatchers are so difficult. Maybe pale flycatchers. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying now to have a look at the calls or listen to the calls. I must be honest. These little flycatchers all look so similar to me, and I just want to be extra careful with identifying it. So I'm going to sit and try work this out quickly. While I do, let's go across to Steph, who apparently has some buffalo heading down to the river.
Now, it is a little bit grainy because it is pitch black outside, but with our cameras that we've got up on the Mara River here, we have got a little bit of light left over to show you what's going on, and we've got a buffalo to show you. Now, Cape buffalo, of course, were very common in the Sabi Sands a year or two ago, and then the big drought coupled with the Nkahuma lions camping out, basically a Djuma camp, eradicated almost every single buffalo that there was living over there. And now I'm told that you haven't seen a buffalo in quite some time. And when you did, one sacrificed itself to those two males that you saw just the other day. Now here in the Mara, it is uncommon for lion to catch buffalo. You obviously do hear about lion eating buffalo. About 10% of their diet is made up of buffalo, with over 50% of their diet made up of wildebeest, and about 20% of their diet, I think, made up of zebra. An interesting statistic I was reading today on cheetah, funnily enough, in that female cheetah and female cheetah with cubs will over 40% of their diet target Thompson's gazelle. Male cheetah and male cheetah in coalitions will be over 40% of their diet will be wildebeest. And that is what we've been seeing quite often. Lions, on the other hand, over 40% of their diet is made up of wildebeest, with about half of that made up of zebra. And then below 10% is made up of everything else. And by everything else, I mean buffalo like this bull buffalo you're having a look at right now. Even things like hippopotamus, elephant, all fall prey to lion on occasion. Isn't that just lovely seeing this? Those dots in the river that you're looking at, every now and again you see one open up its face. Those are hippo. They're busy yawning and getting active at the moment. What's quite funny is last night, way before this time, the hippo were already moving out of the river. Tonight it seems that they have decided that it's slightly better for them to stay in the river for a while before going out. Whoopsie. That was all our river cams, just switched off for some reason.
Lost Steph there for a second. Now these flycatchers are perched on this little tree. I'm almost certain they're flycatchers, but you know what? I think that these are pale flycatchers, everyone. Now, maybe some of you back home can just have another look and let me know if you agree. But I think they are pale flycatchers. I'm just trying to listen. I can't get that sound that they're making. It's a strange sound, and I don't know if it's because there's a group of them. There were 2 or 3 of them there. I'm just trying to listen to the whole call on the app, see if we get that little chattering sound. I don't think that's the call that they actually make. Yeah, that sounds a little bit like it. Almost. there's not much else. Sometimes, these apps, I don't know, just judging by the look. Hold on, I'm going to shine the light on this bird a little bit. Just a little bit there now. There's just a little bit over there. Now, like white around the eye. Oh, there it goes. Now, I'll tell you why. Let's have a look at this quickly together. So, I'll tell you why I think the pale flycatcher, if you... hang on a second. Just looking at some of these others here. Or is it the ashy flycatcher? Oh dear, it's difficult. It's so difficult. If any of you have an idea, if there's some serious birders out there, and you can help me with this little bird, I would really appreciate it. I get very confused with these little flycatchers because they are so difficult. They look so similar. And even with that little call, there wasn't a distinct call that I could identify it back from. But have a look. So this is the ashy flycatcher that I was having a look at. Now they've got that white we could see around the eye. And there's a bit of a white off-white belly. Let's just see if there's another. That almost looked like it. There's some darker markings and white on the wings. And that's a nest. Let me just see if there's another picture. Okay, so I did think I saw some white under the throat there. Alright, but let's have a look quickly. I'm just going to quickly get the other one for you, and then it's definitely not a spotted flycatcher. The other ones we get around here. Now let's look at that pale flycatcher again. Yeah, you see this pale flycatcher. This picture looks very much like it. That also white around the eye, a little bit more white on top of the eye. Also a bit of white under the throat there and off-white belly. Let's see if we can see the back. There a little bit, you can see those markings we saw on the back of the wing. So there we go. That looks quite similar to what we saw there now. Little pale flycatcher. What do you think, everyone? Eric the poet, you were saying maybe a fan-tailed flycatcher. I don't think so. Let's have a look. Well, let's have a look and see. It's actually quite fun trying to identify these. Where is the fan-tailed flycatcher now? Trying to look for fan-tailed flycatcher. Oh dear. Now, Eric, I wonder if that fan-tailed, if it hasn't got a different name now. Oh dear, with the changing of the names. Eric, you've confused me now a little bit. The great tit flycatcher wasn't the fan-tailed flycatcher. Exactly, Eric. So I thought so. The great tit flycatcher used to be known as the fan-tailed flycatcher. That is the name is the old name was fan-tailed flycatcher. New name is the great tit flycatcher. So we had a look at those the other day. We definitely did see that, and they. Yeah, it also looked similar. I was trying to play the call. You see, they all look similar. That great tit flycatcher, so it's between the great tit flycatcher, the ashy flycatcher, we said is the other one that we looked at. Ashy flycatcher or the, what was the other one I said? Or the pale flycatcher. Eleanor, you were saying possibly ashy flycatcher. You didn't see the white on the tail. As I said, for some of you, maybe the screenshots, it might be a bit easier to identify. So have a look at that. The ashy flycatcher, fan-tailed, or the ashy flycatcher, greated flycatcher, or what was the other one? Too many names now. Or the pale flycatcher, ashy, pale, or I'm tired, everyone. I think I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead. Oh dear, that's not good. Yeah, Lynn, you know, these bird names changed. I don't know when some of those flycatchers changed, like that fan-tailed flycatcher, or now greated flycatcher, that's the name. So ashy, pale, or greated flycatcher. Those are the three that I think we just need to have a good look, and I'll try to listen to the call again later and see if I can get an idea of what it was. Lynn, I don't know why the names changed. I don't know. I think bird book sales went down, and the people that sell the books decided we need to up the market or get the market going again, so we'll change the name so people have to buy new books. That's my theory. That's my theory. I could be completely wrong. Please don't quote me on that. I don't want to get into trouble. Or get into more trouble. But yeah, the idea was apparently to create more of an international naming scale for the birds. But again, what from a fan-tailed flycatcher to great-tit flycatcher? Why did they change that? I don't know. Anyway, it's still windy. I don't think we're going to have too much activity this side tonight. But let's head across to James and find out how his evening is going.
Hello everybody, here we are back again with the special low light camera on, and the lions are very much asleep. But we think that they're going to get up because they were cleaning each other and themselves, and one or two of them actually lifted a head and looked towards where the herds are. Now the herds are on the hills all around us, and I think our plan for the evening is going to be to sit here for, I think, probably about an hour or so. If they don't do anything in that hour, what we'll do is head off towards one of the groups of males that we had earlier and see if they don't do something. But just look at her. She's breathing, but that's a sleep breathe. That's not a kind of like those 4 males that we saw, which had clearly eaten about 74 wildebeest in the last 4 days. So yeah, I think this is our best bet for now. We'll sit with them till about, 8 o'clock, 8:15, and if they've done nothing, we'll probably press on and see if we can't find one of the other groups. We're going to be out here all night. Yes, that's what I said, everybody. All night long, David and I and James cozying up on this Land Rover. Scott very kindly lent us his mattresses. I must confess he seemed very happy about it, but I think, he attaches a lot of joy and pride to his mattresses that he created. Leo, you wondering, or an appropriate name, what the biggest lion pride in the Masai Mara is? I don't know for sure. The average sort of pride size is probably 4 lionesses, their cubs and attendant males from time to time. But I think that the biggest pride that I've heard of is a group that Brent has found on the border between Tanzania and Kenya quite frequently, and they seem to be around about 20 lions, which is a very big pride indeed. David was convinced by somebody today that there used to be prides of 80 in this area. I told him that I thought that was a pork pie. He's not laughing at all. But I would think that look, you can possibly get prides of up to 35 lions from time to time, but bigger than that I have not heard of, unlike David, who has heard of them. So has anybody managed to tell me who Yaya is yet? Anybody have any idea who Yaya the lion is? Is she a Marsh Pride lion? Nobody. Okay, right. Marvellous. Okay, good. Now, for those of you who don't know, our plans out here are to basically spend the night waiting to see if these lionesses hunt the herds. There are lots of wildebeest south of us, and we're going to see what they do. So if you're wondering why on earth we're sitting with a flat cat, that's why. Andy, you want to know why they hunt when they're not hungry? Is it instinct or practice? Andy, I think, personally, that it's fun for them. Now, I'm going to qualify that. I don't think that they consciously think, oh, let's go and have some fun now. I think the main drive behind their killing is not to eat. I think it's enjoyment. Why do I say that? I'm going to use the example of human reproduction. And I know that that might sound slightly risque for a safari drive. But the main reason that human beings reproduce or go through the act of reproduction is because they enjoy it. That's the main reason they do it. It's not the main biological reason they do it, it's the main psychological reason they do it. Many human beings around the world, possibly right now, are engaged in, certainly the forerunners to the act, because they think it will be fun. Now, I'm not trying to be facetious or funny or anything like that at all. I'm being deadly serious. So if you think about that, in fact, if you think about sometimes the human desire to eat, we like to eat, and often we know that we're not hungry, we just find it fun, we find it enjoyable. And I think that many of the things of our behavior and animal behavior are enjoyable to the animals that do them, simply because it's a good way of our biology making us do things that are good for us. So in terms of mating, it's fun, but biologically, of course, it's very important, otherwise the species dies out. Now, I think that what we're seeing here is a very similar thing, where we have cats that are killing because they enjoy it. Not because they enjoy killing, they enjoy the chase and the kill in the same way that a house cat, as I've said before, enjoys chasing a ball of twine or a marble or a toy mouse or something like that. It's not a bloodlust, it's simply an enjoyment, and that enjoyment in turn leads to the cat having something to eat if it's hungry. So does that make sense? I think there's a psychological element that is driven by the biological one. So I think that they are driven to kill because they enjoy it. That's the psychological part of it. The biological part of it is, why is it fun? Why would it be fun for them? Well, it's fun for them because it encourages them to kill, and that in turn leaves them with a whole lot of stuff to eat, which in turn is obviously very good for them. So I hope that kind of makes sense. That's how I see it. I don't see it any other way. So when people say to me, but, do they enjoy killing? Well, yes, I think they do. But it's not a bloodlust. It's not that they enjoy death. They enjoy the act of finding themselves food, although that's not necessarily how they perceive it. So I think it's a really interesting discussion, this, and I think if you were to look at a lot of behaviors, some of which seem to be strange and abhorrent in many ways, well, then you'll find that there could easily be a psychological explanation to it. Here's another one. For example, porcupines, they mate every single day. In order for the female to cycle properly, they have to mate every single day. Now, I suspect that the reason that they have to do that is that the male probably it's probably a way of keeping the male in the vicinity of the female so that he doesn't go off and philander, and so that another male doesn't come in and perhaps perpetuate infanticide, which is very common in all mammals. But the point is, a lot of people will say to you, there are only 3 mammals that mate for fun: human beings, dolphins, and porcupines. And that's just because they do it every day. I don't believe that's true. I think all mammals probably find an element of fun in it. But porcupines have to do it psychologically, simply because that's how the female cycles. And I'm sure that there must be an element of enjoyment in it, otherwise they simply wouldn't do it, and the population of porcupines would die out. So that's a really interesting discussion. Now, I believe we do have some answers on who Yaya is. Right, thank you very much. Chastity, Angie and Janet and many others, you say that Yaya is indeed from the Marsh Pride. Well, that's very exciting. This is my first encounter, as far as I'm aware, with the lions of possibly the world's most famous pride. Right, I believe that Byron has taken out his spotlight, and this is the first time I'm linking to him in the last 2 days when he hasn't had some kind of pithy comment about me.
Thank you, James. Yeah, we got the spotlight out, but it's a bit difficult this evening. As I said, it's been very, very windy this afternoon. The wind picked up. So I don't think we're going to have too much activity. I've been looking around, scanning, nothing just yet. Now those birds have baffled me completely that we saw. Some of you say possibly the African dusky flycatcher. You know what? I'm sorry. Those flycatchers are very confusing for me. There's something in the grass there. Oh, sorry, a little steenbok. I just caught a glimpse. It's a little steenbok. I don't want to shine the light on it. A small antelope. We'll rather leave that. It's resting, lying in the grass, trying to stay out of the wind. So some of you are saying African dusky flycatcher maybe, but you see how they all look so similar. You've really got to be so careful with identifying them. I mean, African dusky, the pale, the ashy, and the grey tip flycatcher, they all look so similar. Very, very similar. Well, in my opinion. Maybe I'm not looking close enough or hard enough. But also trying to identify them at dusk like this isn't easy. You don't have much light on them. It was actually getting pretty dark while we were sitting there. That's my excuse. We'll see. We should ask James what he thinks, maybe what bird it was. Lauren, you were asking, when are animals most active? Lauren, well, you get different types of animals. Animals that are diurnal, active during the day. Animals that are nocturnal, it means they're active at night. Lauren, you also get animals that are known as crepuscular. Now that is a term for animals that are active during the dawn and dusk, that time of day. So the animals, it all depends on the animal, really, when they're more active or not. And generally the predators start getting more active around this time of the evening. They move around. Lions and leopards and hyena, for example, probably start moving around a lot more, hunting, looking for food. Although we saw a male leopard moving around at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So there goes that theory out the water. Animals will move whenever they want. Depends when they're hungry, when they're looking for food, when they're looking for water. I think lions are generally more active at night. The animals like the herbivores and that, they still move around somewhat at night. They've got to be very careful of predators, but they would generally move further distances and go to water and that during the day as opposed to at night. So, Lauren, it's very difficult to give an exact answer to that question because it varies all the time, and I don't think you can say animals like leopards are only active at night or they're only active during the day. We've seen they move around whenever they want. Ricky, you are 100% right. You said just like people, animals have got different schedules too. They do. I mean, I always like this story because it fascinates me that some people can be so narrow-minded at times. A guest of mine, who is a good friend that I've known for many years, been guiding him for 8 years, and he told me a story. He went to a dinner party once with friends, and there was a lady, and I've told the story before, but there was a lady, and they were chatting about the bush and nature, and she was also quite a bush enthusiast, and they got onto the topic of leopards. Now, this particular guest of mine is mad about leopards. He loves them, absolutely loves them, and will go to specific areas just to photograph leopards. And they were talking about them, and I'd been guiding him for years, and he was saying, he's got some great images of leopards walking during the day, and she said, oh no, that's impossible. And he said, what do you mean? And she said, no, well, leopards don't move around during the day. And he was flabbergasted. He couldn't believe that somebody was so narrow-minded that they argued. He said, listen, I've got photos, I can show you leopards moving around during the day. And she wouldn't budge, she wouldn't agree with him. And, it just shows you that sometimes people don't understand wildlife and nature. There's no set rule out here. There isn't, not with anything. Animals will change their behavior, they'll change schedules, whatever. There's no schedule, actually. So we need to always remember that and bear that in mind. But when he told me the story, he eventually said, okay, he's not arguing anymore, he'll just leave it. But yeah, we saw it this afternoon. A big male leopard walking around at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a fairly warm, well, not fairly, it was quite warm this afternoon, it was hot. And we could see that male leopard panting because he was getting hot, moving around so much. But it just shows you they'll do whatever they feel like. Now, James is still with those lions, and they apparently are resting, and they hopefully going to get active fairly soon. Let's go to him and see what his plan is or idea is, what those lions are going to do.
Right, well, there we go. I keep saying that, right, well, there we go. Hoping that in some way, if I speak like that, the lion might actually get up and do something. But I'm afraid things very quiet here at the moment with Yaya. She hasn't got up to go hunting yet. Now, I'm relatively confident that they will, because she's not so fat, and also, of course, because she was cleaning and they were doing a little bit of mutually grooming. There are, in fact, 2 lions there. Aren't there, David? Yes. There is another one behind there somewhere. Anyway, that's what's going on there. And then, Dave, shall we have a look at the other one? Is she still around? She better be. Right. There she is. Phew. Whew. What a relief. For 1 second there, I thought she'd left us. But she has not. So we'll just enjoy that for now. It's a very pleasant night out. There are a few crowned lapwings calling. There are no storms in the offing, thankfully. There are stars everywhere. Snazzy, Zep or Beth, you say, is it possible that lions could travel into the park without our knowledge? Yeah, absolutely it's possible, and probably happens all the time. Remember that the reserves in Kenya are not fenced, and basically, if you go away from the reserves, out of protected areas, there are what we might describe as buffer zones, which are areas where people and wildlife kind of live together, cohabit, if you like, sometimes not particularly peacefully, but they do live together. And you'll find that lions from those areas will come in and out all the time. So definitely, there could easily be lions here that even the researchers have never seen before and don't know. But once we're this far in, we're quite a long way from the northern boundary. It'd be very unlikely to see a lion that had come in from out of this area, unless it was a nomadic male. So, those Bila Shaka 6 males, when they pulled in here, nobody knew who they were. And, I think they've probably figured out where they've come from now. I don't know where that is exactly. In fact, I don't know where it is vaguely. But they are, nobody would have known exactly where they came from when they arrived. If that makes sense. Which I hope it does. Julia, you want to know how to spell the name Bilashaka? I don't know. Wait, I'm going to check for you. I'll check for you right now. Right. Give me 1 second. I will get it for you in the next few seconds. Fear not. Maybe just a few more than a few seconds. But certainly it will be close and soon. Here we go. No, come on. Come on. Now, I'll figure it out. I think it's Bilashaka. I think that's what it is. But I will figure it out for you before the end of the drive. That's in 3 minutes. Ooh, I don't have much time. Let me keep going. Let me keep checking. No, that's not right. That's not right. I'm just checking on this fellow who posts about these lions, and he's a real expert. I'm pretty sure that I've read it as Bilashaka. All right, we're going to say goodbye to you now, and we'll see you tomorrow. I hope that we make it through the night, and if we don't, well, it's been real. Let's head across to Tayla.
Well, we've been racing around trying to find lions, and we had to come back to the Agama Pride. Now, those little eyes that you can see just off in the distance, it's actually the Agama cubs. They are waiting patiently. There is one lioness with them. I'm not sure how many little cubs are around here at the moment. And the other two have gone off hunting. And if you remember watching the show this morning, perhaps you did or you didn't. It was very exciting. All 3 of the lionesses had made attempts a number of different times, and unfortunately they weren't too successful. So we know that they're hungry. They've got lots of little ones to feed, and we're going to be doing exactly what James is doing. We're going to be staying out for as long as possible. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the thermal camera, where we're going to move away from the cubs, and we're going to have a look at the adult lionesses, the 2 others. Right, sorry about that. I disappeared for a moment. But those are all wildebeest, and I suspect that as we sit here, those lions are going to try and creep closer and closer in hope to try and catch a wildebeest. Maybe a zebra. Who knows what's lurking down in the distance. Very exciting, though. Another cool toy, this amazing thermal camera. It's unbelievable, actually. And I really hope that they do make a kill tonight. I think they will. I think they're going to be successful. They definitely put in the time earlier this morning, and they'll deserve it.